Never mind, it's been confirmed by the Department of Justice. Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, and his dad are sitting in jail because they robbed Gucci Mane. Like, tricked yourself out your position to go be with boys again. I will never understand it, bro. Side note, I just left the gym to report this. Here's the official story. Basically, Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, and his dad, with 8 other men, pushed up to the studio where Gucci Mane was. All the men whipped out firearms and robbed Gucci Mane and his people that was in the studio. Not only that, Pooh Shiesty forced Gucci Mane and whoever else was there to sign a contract releasing him from the label. And now all the men and Pooh Shiesty have been caught, which is weird because if you think about it, how did they know the names of all the other dudes? And now people are accusing Gucci Mane of telling, while others are saying that no, the studio just gave the information to the cops. Regardless, bruh, you was just sitting in jail with boys every single day. You eat, sleep with boys. You finally come back to shotties, and the first thing you do is put yourself at risk to be with boys again. I won't never understand that. You're a multi-millionaire, bro. You don't like to be with boys again? Really? Anyways, what do you guys think about the situation? I'm about to go back to hitting my reps.
What if I told you a Memphis rapper once had everything lined up, like the whole world sitting right in his palm, ready to cash out big? His talent was real heavy, enough to feed him and his whole circle without breaking a sweat. But instead of leveling up and moving smart, he crashed out and got hit with 5 years in federal prison over a robbery and a shooting that could have turned deadly. All over some shoes and some Mary Jane. Now picture this. He gets out, fresh home, second chance in play. But instead of laying low and rebuilding, he allegedly starts throwing shade at the victim's family, picking moments on Instagram like it's a game. Out of everything he could post, that's the energy he chose. His main profile pic? Him posted up in front of a green McLaren, flexing like nothing ever happened. He even labels himself a slime king, which says a lot once you really dig into the story we're about to break down. And here's where it gets messy. What if I told you the same man who helped him rise up, the one who opened doors and changed his life, is the very person he allegedly tried to sneak out on just to sign somewhere else? Yeah, it's being tied to another name too, which makes it even wilder.
Thank you for coming. This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas. 8 of the 9 were arrested yesterday in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. These individuals who are charged and arrested include Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30, and were inside the recording studio. Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover. As alleged, Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint.
The irony is loud. Instead of staying focused and flooding the streets with music, he drops a First Day Out track, still signed to the same guy he allegedly tried to cross. The song blows up, goes #1. Big moment. But one line had everybody talking. He said, "Your daddy, your killer, but you ain't." And that right there had people looking at him sideways. "You just like Bronny James." That line came right after the lyric, and it made people pause for a second. Then it gets deeper. His daddy was his first co-defendant, meaning the first time he ever caught a charge, his father was right there with him. According to reports, that same father was allegedly present during the situation involving the CEO, which makes the whole story feel even heavier. Reports say things escalated fast during that moment, and his past shows that's exactly when everything went left. It wasn't just a regular situation either. A police officer tied to the CEO's security detail reportedly got involved, turning it into something way more serious than it already was. Now fast forward to today, despite the fame, despite hitting #1, there's still no full project out. And now, with his halfway house period reportedly wrapping up, things are getting tense again. Local news outlets within the last 24 hours have released footage showing federal agents outside a home reportedly linked to him and his father. When people see something like that, they start putting pieces together quick. 2 + 2 = 4 in situations like this because when federal agents show up, it usually means something serious is going on. It's rarely random. Now here's where things take a turn. Originally, I was working on a completely different story out of Alabama. It involved 2 young men who were recently killed while sitting inside a vehicle, with reports saying an AK-47 was found in the car. As I looked deeper into that case, it got even more disturbing. Their mother had reportedly passed away in a similar situation just 2 years earlier, which raised even more questions. And while digging further, I came across someone allegedly claiming responsibility, turning a photo from one victim's girlfriend into a flyer and even filming a music video at a graveyard showing extreme disrespect less than 24 hours after the loss. But while I was putting all those details together, something else popped up. New developments involving PTY. And once you start lining everything up, it begins to raise serious questions. Because like they say, if you keep knocking on the devil's door, sooner or later somebody's gonna answer.
So, Gucci walk in the damn studio, bro, with his people, to Draco's. The footage is going to show Pooh Shiesty had one on him, Big 30 had one on him. Only person who really gonna escape from this is the Pops. The Pops did not want none of this to go on. Nigga like this, bro. Gucci look at the dad like, the Pops just head down. You can't tell your son nothing right now. Your son the number one right now. You gonna sign this? Sign the damn papers. And we need that. Wedding ring. Watch. Come up out that. The person who closed the door is Big 30. He got his Draco. That's why they put the warrant out for him. This is all on camera, so nothing I'm telling y'all ain't shit that the feds don't know. A lot of y'all gonna be like, oh, bro, this fair word. It really ain't. I tried to say to the nigga by saying he wasn't there. Saying he left and then these cats did whatever they did. I tried. I tried to get the jury. By the time I get to Dallas, these niggas done already left.
So, before we even get into that Alabama story, we gotta take a quick look at this. PTI situation first, it's too important to ignore. Now listen, before we go deeper, just remember this. I'm not here to twist anything or add extras, I'm just giving you the story straight up. With that being said, make sure you tap in, like, comment, and subscribe, because we're getting right into it. Back in 2022, when I first started this platform, I was trying to figure out the direction, trying to find that lane. During that time, I focused on stories about rappers and their families, and people were locked in, they wanted to know more. One of those names that kept coming up was PTI. At the time, PTI had a lot of buzz, real motion behind his name. While doing my research, I came across details about his father, Rel Williams Sr., and how PTY identifies as Rel Williams Jr., and that connection caught attention quick. Bigger platforms like Hip Hop Daily even picked up on the same story later on. They were running with similar information, putting it out to a wider audience. I'll leave that link available, but there's one key detail from that situation that needs to be highlighted. To give you a quick recap, this goes all the way back to 2004, involving a DJ, and from what was being said at the time, it was alleged that... Now here's where things get real serious. PTY's dad was reportedly upset because a DJ was playing Yo Gotti's music instead of his. At the time, he was running his own label, Rel Williams. And back then, people were even calling him Mob Boss, so you already know the kind of reputation he carried. In that older video I made, I broke everything down in detail, even spoke on how a stash house got raided. But yeah, the delivery wasn't the cleanest back then. Things have definitely leveled up since those days. If you go back and look into it, reports said, a grand jury indicted 3 suspects connected to the case involving a Memphis radio personality who was found dead inside her downtown apartment. This wasn't something small, this shook people. One of the individuals, Stanley Andrews, 24 at the time, was indicted on multiple serious charges connected to the death of Rebecca Glanzer, who was also just 24 years old. He was later sentenced to life in prison. Rebecca was found on April 12, 2004, at 130 South Front Street by an apartment manager. Coworkers from the radio station grew concerned when she didn't show up for work and went to check on her, only to discover something tragic had happened. The grand jury also indicted Trell D. Williams, who was 27 at the time, along with Marquita Thomas, who was 19, both facing charges as accessories after the fact. Reports claimed she played a role in setting things up, which added another layer to an already disturbing case. From that point on, PTY's father carried the label of a convicted felon. Respect to Rebecca, may she rest in peace, and condolences to her family during such a heartbreaking situation. Now fast forward about 15 years later to 2019, just before PT1 started gaining traction during the pandemic. Rel Williams Sr. was back in the spotlight again. Then in 2019, things heated up again. That same apartment got raided once more, and this time it brought even more attention.
Man, so they said Pooh Shiesty's dad has been arrested after the FBI raid yesterday. I don't know if it's true, but I'm also seeing reports of Pooh Shiesty being arrested. It say this is allegedly linked to the rumors of Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 robbing Gucci Mane. If I ain't tripping, I remember this story being talked about months ago. When I first heard about it, I thought it was a fake-ass story. It sound made up. They accused Pooh Shiesty of forcing Gucci Mane to let him out his record deal. I don't even understand how you could do that. I don't even think that would work to get out of a deal. I'm also seeing people in the comments say Gucci snitched. How do y'all accuse somebody of snitching without proof? It be people in the comments that live in good-ass neighborhoods saying somebody snitched. Y'all gotta understand, a lot of the industry fuck with Gucci. If that actually happened, a lot of people would not rock with Pooh Shiesty. They would basically try to blackball dude. A lot of labels probably wouldn't even want to mess with him. I ain't saying he ain't in jail, but it's probably for something else. It's a wild-ass story though, no cap.
Back then, they were staying on the 700 block of Mine Circle West, and on December 11th around 6, police showed up with a search warrant and moved in. Officers did a full sweep of the apartment and came across a male identified as Rel Williams Jr., also known by his rap name PTI, sitting in the southwest bedroom right on the bed. Reports say he was sitting on a Glock 22 pistol at the time he was detained, which immediately raised the stakes. Detectives kept clearing the residence, checking every room to make sure nobody else was inside. Once they confirmed the place was secure, they shifted focus to what else was going on in that apartment. According to reports, there was a strong odor of marijuana throughout the entire place, and officers started searching for where it was coming from. During that search, Detectives Garrison and Murphy found $30 in cash under a couch in the living room. In the southwest bedroom, the same spot PTI was in, Detective Tate reportedly found a Glock fitted with a 50-round drum magazine loaded with around 24 rounds, along with a rifle stock attachment. That same room also had a large, clear bag of marijuana, according to Detective Mill. The search didn't stop there. Another detective found documents in the master bedroom, while Detective Tate also located another Glock with 2 rounds inside a dresser, plus $605 in cash. And right there on the kitchen floor, officers reportedly found 3 Navy Federal Credit Union envelopes with PT Wine's government name on them, tying everything in that space together even more. The search kept going, and more details started stacking up fast. Another detective found a key to a Chrysler 300 sitting in a kitchen drawer while a black phone was spotted right there on the counter. In the southwest bedroom, Detective Tate reportedly found a black hat with the Worst Chopper Game logo sitting on the dresser, along with other personal items. Over in the master bedroom, a white and gold iPad was also recovered from a dresser drawer. It didn't stop there. Detectives also came across a purple jersey with the name PTI on it, plus a Louis Vuitton bag tucked away in the southwest bedroom closet, adding even more to the scene. Then Detective Murphy located a key fob in that same bedroom, which led them straight to a tan Chevrolet Tahoe parked outside. When they pressed the button, it confirmed the vehicle, and that's when things got even more intense. From outside the Tahoe, detectives said they could already smell a strong odor of marijuana coming from inside. Since the vehicle fell under the scope of the search warrant, they brought in a K9 unit to check it out. The dog reportedly gave a positive alert on the driver's side door, confirming their suspicions. After that, PTI was transported to 3657 Old Getwell Road for questioning, where he was advised of his rights but chose not to speak with detectives. Testing later confirmed the substance found was marijuana, reportedly weighing in at around 20 pounds. And when everything was counted up, the total amount of cash recovered from the property came out to a staggering $40,984. The investigation kept building piece by piece. Reports say 2 TTR forms were completed for both handguns, locking that evidence in. Detectives also seized an unknown amount of coins that still had to be counted and officially logged later on. PTI ended up facing multiple charges, including possession of a controlled substance, possession of a firearm, and being a felon in possession. His father was also brought in as a co-defendant since the apartment was tied to his name, which made the situation even more complicated. Now it makes more sense what he meant in that song. His daddy was his first co-defendant. At the time, it seemed like his father took the weight of the case, allowing PT1 to move forward. Just a few months later, in April 2020, PTY signed to 1017, marking a whole new chapter. Based on what police reportedly found, like items connected to Chopper Gang, it looked like there was already a certain image building around him.
So if y'all remember, about a month ago, there was a story circulating around the internet that Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 had robbed Gucci Mane. Everyone said it was just rumors, but today, this breaking news has just came out that it was true. Rapper Gucci Mane robbed and kidnapped by Pooh Shiesty and 3 other suspects. Channel 2 in Atlanta just reported that on January 10th, Gucci Mane, real name Radrick Davis, traveled with 2 others to a business meeting at the studio arranged by Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr. in Dallas, described as a coordinated takeover. Williams is accused of pulling out an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release of recording contract at gunpoint, according to the U.S. attorney. Davis and others were then robbed of cash, Rolex watches, and other jewelry. Pooh Shiesty is signed to Gucci Mane's label. So Pooh Shiesty is over with. If I don't know how dumb or what he was thinking when he was doing this, but he ain't never coming home. He already got those previous charges. Now you got federal kidnapping and robbery charges. We done seen the last of Big 30 and Pooh Shiesty.
With that deal in place, he shifted focus fully into music. And it worked! He came out strong with tracks like 7.62 God, making noise right away and building a name that started ringing everywhere. One of his songs went crazy, pulling in over 80 million views, and he kept that momentum going. During the pandemic, he went on a serious run, dropping major records and staying consistent. Then came Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk, which took things to another level. The track went multi-platinum, reportedly 8 times platinum, and was getting closer and closer to diamond status. But just as fast as things were rising, everything slowed down again. On June 3rd, 2021, PTY was indicted, and reports say it stemmed from an incident that happened earlier on October 9th, 2020. According to Miami-Dade police, PTY was with 2 other individuals, identified as Robbie Brown and Jaden, when everything unfolded. Police say around 1:50 p.m. that day, the 3 men arrived at the Landon Hotel on East Bay Harbor Drive in Bay Harbor Islands, and that's where the situation began to take a serious turn. Reports say Williams pulled up driving a green McLaren, with Brown sitting in the passenger seat, while DeRosa arrived separately in a black Mercedes Maybach. Everything looked smooth on the surface, like a regular high-end meetup. According to investigators, Williams had set up the meeting to buy a pair of expensive athletic sneakers from the victims. And here's where it gets interesting. He had actually rented that same McLaren from one of the victims involved in the deal. Victim 1 was reportedly trying to work out an extension on that rental as part of the conversation, so this wasn't just about shoes, it was layered. But in a split moment, the situation allegedly turned violent. Authorities say that during the transaction, firearms were suddenly pulled out. Brown allegedly shot one victim in the hip, while PTY allegedly shot the second victim in the lower body. What started as a deal quickly turned into case. Despite being injured, the victims managed to get away and drove themselves to MD urgent care before later being transported to Aventura Hospital for further treatment. As the investigation unfolded, law enforcement reviewed surveillance footage from the scene.
And what I realized is that these cliques of rappers, because right now it's weird in Atlanta, it's getting weird for everybody else. Why? That's all their homies. Like that's the cool crew. So I thought that when the whole F the streets thing was, kind of transpiring and going around social media and hip hop, you know who I felt should be the last person that jumped in on that? Pooh Shiesty. You just came out of jail and you're saying that you're back on the streets and you're bringing back the streets damn near.
The video reportedly showed PTY arriving in the green McLaren with Brown while DeRosa pulled up in the black Maybach. Clothing details were also noted. Williams was seen wearing a yellow shirt, Brown had on a white t-shirt, and DeRosa was dressed in a purple hoodie, making it easier for authorities to track movements. Footage showed that shortly after arriving, one of the victims approached Williams and handed him a bag of marijuana. Then the second victim stepped in, handing over a shopping bag. Williams reportedly opened the bag, pulled out the sneakers, and started inspecting them, right before everything took a sudden and violent turn. The chaos didn't stop there. Victim 2 walked around the mom McLaren and got in the passenger seat, where Brown had been sitting, trying to collect payment from PTY while holding one of the sneakers in his hand. That's when PTY reportedly pulled out a Draco subcompact weapon and demanded the sneakers go into the car immediately. Meanwhile, OSA stepped out of the Maybach and approached victim 2, trying to grab his jewelry. Moments later, when victim 2 tried to stop him from taking the items, PTY allegedly shot him in the buttocks. Injured, victim 2 retreated toward a nearby vehicle. Even though DeRosa couldn't take the jewelry from victim 2, PTY and his crew walked away with the sneakers without paying a single cent. Victim 2 reportedly ran a shoe sale business involving shipments across state lines, making this a serious federal matter. On top of that, neither victim received payment for the sneakers or the marijuana during the attack.
If you're saying f the streets, now you are the streets. You're saying f yourself, right? Chat, again, this is why I'm looking at the street news and I'm like, why are they saying this shit online? I am the streets. 2 weeks ago, the streets. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. But exactly.
The surveillance footage shows the immediate aftermath. Williams allegedly shot victim 2, while Brown reportedly shot victim 1 in the hip. Victim 1 was seen collapsing in the area between the green McLaren and his own vehicle. Williams then reportedly pointed the Draco at him, saying, quote, "Don't you try," just seconds after the shots were fired. Shortly after, PTY, OSA, and Brown returned to their vehicles and drove off. Williams never got out of the driver's seat of the McLaren, keeping control of the scene. The footage even captured a Louis Vuitton bag falling out during the chaos, leaving more evidence behind for investigators. After the shooting, PTY allegedly drove off in the McLaren, leaving behind a Louis Vuitton bag in the driver's seat. Law enforcement recovered the bag, which reportedly contained $40,912 in U.S. currency, marking the second time PTI had tens of thousands confiscated by the police. PTI's public Instagram account also drew investigators' attention. The account contained photos of him showing off multiple long rifles and stacks of $100 bills before the robbery even took place. One of the bills in the pictures reportedly displayed its full serial number, and police were later able to match that exact bill to the cash recovered in the Louis Vuitton bag. Law enforcement also identified OSA publicly through his Instagram handle, Dream Mantra. In one post, he was allegedly holding a Draco firearm, the same type reportedly used by PTY during the shooting. After reviewing the surveillance footage, officers went to Aventura Hospital to speak with the victims and show stills from the videos. Victim 1 reportedly confirmed that the person driving the green McLaren was PTY, noting that he had met PTY multiple times before, including when he rented that same McLaren. Victim 1 said that during the shooting, the closest person to him was PTY's road manager, Bobby Brown. He described Brown as wearing a white t-shirt, which matched the video surveillance. Officers also showed Victim 1 a photo of Ross, identifying him as the driver of the black Mercedes Maybach and the person wearing a purple hoodie, confirming the events from multiple angles. Law enforcement also followed up with Victim 2 while he was being treated at Aventura Hospital. He was shown still photos from the surveillance footage and reportedly identified the same people involved in the incident, helping confirm the events from multiple perspectives. Fast forward to Sunday, May 30th, 2021. PTY was performing as a rapper at the King of Diamonds strip club, located at 7020 Northwest 72nd Avenue in Miami, Florida. After the show, he was paid his performance fee in cash, but things quickly went sideways when someone in the crowd slapped his hand, causing PTY to drop the cash on the ground.
There's no intent shown in that document. There's no words that were said. There's no pointing of the firearm at anyone. Essentially, what the document says and what the witnesses said on that day is that the defendant was being escorted out of the club. He reached for his pockets, looking for money in his pockets. A weapon was pulled and it was fired at the ground. And after it was fired at the ground, allegedly the ricochet or whatever happened was one of the either security guards or an employee of the club was struck in his ankle.
According to reports, PTI then pulled a black semi-automatic pistol from his waistband and began waving it to prevent club patrons from taking the money. Security immediately tried to remove him from the venue. Video surveillance reportedly captured him walking with the firearm in his hand. At no point did PTY fire the weapon, but he allegedly struck a club security guard in the ankle while fleeing in a dark-colored vehicle. Because of the seriousness of the incident, he later agreed to a plea deal. Some say it was a hell of a deal, considering everything that could have gone down. In April 2022, PTY accepted the plea, which sentenced him to 5 years and 3 months in prison. As part of the agreement, he admitted to the firearm and drug charges, while 3 other charges were dropped. Reports say he's scheduled to be released in October 2025, finally coming home after serving his time. So, fam, let's break it down. PTI had to serve 6 months in a halfway house after getting out, and if all went as planned, he would have finished that stay in the first week of April 2026. But as we all know, things didn't exactly go that clean. When PTY first came home in October, everything looked good on the surface. Gucci Mane even walked him home, posting, quote, "Welcome home to the real one, my PTI." The energy felt different. Same grind, but a new chapter. PTY was back free, ready to shake the streets up. Gucci Mane's wife, Kiki, also shared her welcome, saying, "Welcome home, PTI, we missed you." PTI even reposted that on his own Instagram, showing some love back. Everything looked normal, but one thing stood out. Gucci Mane himself wasn't seen around PTY. Many assumed it was just because PTI was still on halfway house restrictions, but his CEO being absent raised questions. Fast forward to early 2026, PTY dropped his highly anticipated track, First Day Out, FD. The track ran over 6 minutes and packed straight bars, showing that he didn't come to play.
But the prosecutors wasn't trying to hear all that. They painted a totally different picture.
What happened here was the defendant was angry because the victim in this case, who was a security guard, told him to put away his gun. He then grew angry. He pointed the gun at him and shot him. The victim specifically states in the arrest warrant that he had to move out of the way. He was directly shooting at him. The only reason he got shot in the ankle was because he jumped out of the way at the last minute. This happened in front of a club full of people. There's video of the defendant with the gun in his hand.
One of the standout moments? His mother's speech in the song? Pure encouragement and love, the kind of words any kid would want to hear from their mom. It was clear, I came back ready to make noise and prove he wasn't slowing down. Gucci Mane never reposted the video. Meanwhile, PTY's track was blowing up. The song played non-stop in clubs even while PTY couldn't perform live. Within just 2 months, it racked up almost 50 million views on YouTube, a serious statement for a First Day Out record. But a month after the track dropped, rumors about PT1 and Gucci Mane started heating up. A well-known blogger named Set Nash claimed that PTY had allegedly robbed Gucci Mane, making some bold and confusing statements. People were baffled. This was his artist, still signed to 1017 in 2026. Naturally, the audience wanted proof before believing something that wild. Then King AK-47, another prominent blogger, stepped up and shared alleged details about what happened that day in Texas. According to his reports, PTY and his father allegedly tried to rob Gucci Mane in an attempt to get out of his contract and allegedly sign with Yo Gotti. Interestingly, this links back to old tensions. PTI's dad was reportedly upset years earlier when a local DJ didn't play his music, which allegedly led to a violent incident and a shooting. Now, I'm not sure exactly how King AK-47 got all his info, but shout out to him. His details seem to line up with known events. One claim had already been called a bluff, but he dropped even more context that made people stop and pay attention. As things cooled down a bit from all that drama, a few things caught people's attention and need to be highlighted. First, Gucci Mane quietly took down his welcome home post for PTI. On top of that, he's been staying low on social media, which raised eyebrows. Then, on what some considered April Fool's Day, just as PT1 was gearing up to finally leave the halfway house, his home, owned by him and his father, was reportedly raided by federal agents. And anyone familiar with this stuff knows that kind of visit is never a good sign. So there you have it, fam. I put all of this together this morning to break it down and give you a clearer picture of what's going on. We can only speculate why the feds were there, but when you look at the facts and the timeline that's been shared publicly, the dots start connecting. 2 + 2 = 4. And it's not looking good for PTY, who's hustling and providing for his family, and for his father, who's now also in the spotlight of law enforcement. All of this happened the same week PTY was set to be released from the halfway house. Things are still developing, and I'll keep you updated as more comes out. Until then, drop your thoughts in the comments, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video coming out tonight about the Alabama story. I'll catch you guys on the next one.